Hey everybody, Brian here with Bantam Overland. We're back today with another awesome Sony plug-and-play bundle for your 2007 to 2018 Jeep JK. In this video, we're going to be featuring the Sony 9000ES. This is the elevated standard in Sony's head unit lineup. Not only does this unit share the same characteristics and functionality as its bigger brother, the Sony 9500ES, it comes packed with wireless Apple CarPlay, wireless Android Auto. You have the option to add multiple camera inputs. So in today's video, the other thing that we're super proud to announce is our new Bantam Overland front camera mount that'll fit directly onto the front grille of your Jeep JK. A lot of the new cars on the market today have cameras all over them, and your Jeep JK shouldn't be any different. With this head unit, you have the option to add both a backup camera and a front camera and still have a third RCA input for an additional camera if you choose. Our plug and play bundle is going to come with everything that you need for an easy and simple install into your Jeep. All of the wiring harnesses, the module, the adapters. If you opt for the front camera or the backup camera that we already have on the website, all of those harnesses will come pre-wired, pre-soldered for an easy plug-and-play installation that you can do in your own garage. Before we get started on the disassembly of the vehicle, let's go over a few of the tools that we're going to need to complete this install. You're going to need a Phillips head screwdriver. You can either use a powered or a manual. You're going to need some sort of ratchet wrench, either powered or manual. We like to use a 10mm and a 7mm socket. You need a panel pry tool. We have a plastic and a metal one here. You're also going to need some sort of razor knife so we can cut a hole through the passenger side of the firewall to pass our camera wire. You're going to need some sort of cutters and a handful of zip ties. Now that we've gone over some of the awesome features of the Sony 9000ES plug-and-play bundle and the tools that you'll need to complete this job, let's jump into the Jeep and get started with disassembly. First step in the installation of your new plug-and-play bundle is obviously disassembly of your JK. So what I'm going to show you today is going to be applicable for 2012 all the way up to 2018 and a half JKs. First step in the process is right here below the steering column. There's this lower panel, this dash panel. We need to remove it because we're going to end up removing 4 screws in total that hold on the upper part of the dash. So to do that real easy, we're going to go right below the dash here, stick our thumbs in and just pull straight back towards you. It's going to release the 2 clips here at the top. We're going to pivot it all the way down and then pull straight back. So what we're trying to do is release these hooks here. So don't pull straight back on these, otherwise you risk breaking them off. So like I said, it's kind of a pop it out, pivot it all the way down, and then remove. So we'll go ahead and put this in the back seat. Now, right at the top where we just removed, you're going to find 2 9/32 screws that hold in the lower portion of the upper dash. So we're going to go ahead and grab our tool. This is where the little extension comes in handy. We're going to remove these 2 screws. Now that we have the 2 screws removed from the lower part of the dash, we're going to set these on our cup holder for safekeeping, and we're going to move right up on top of the dash here to the storage cubby. We're going to remove our little insert, set that in the back seat, and right below that is going to be another screw to take out. Got that one out, put it in the cup holder as well. 4th and final screw is behind your window switches. So we're going to get our plastic panel tool. We're going to start here right at the bottom. We're just going to insert and we're going to pop this straight out towards us. There's not a lot of slack on the switch cable here, but what you're looking for is on one side there is a red locking tab. You're going to push that back and then you're going to depress the tab and remove the main harness. So we're going to push that, unlock it, and right next to that is the retaining pin. We're going to push that, give it a wiggle, and it's going to come right out. So with the Windows switch out of the way, try to hold this so you guys can see. Here's the red locking tab, and right above it is the tab that holds in the main plug. The 4th and final screw is located right here below where the Windows switch was, so we'll go ahead and remove that one. At this point, the upper dash portion is free. There's nothing holding it in, so we're gonna go ahead and remove it. But first, do yourself a favor and drop the steering wheel all the way to its lowest position and lock it back in place. This is gonna give us room to lift the dash away, up and over the steering column and your controls here. So it's just gonna make life a lot easier for you. So kind of the easiest way I found to do this is just reach in where the window switch was, and we're just gonna give it a gentle pull towards us. You can grab it on either end. And like I said, we're just going to gently kind of work it up and out of the way. And we can set this piece in the back seat. With the dash out of the way, you'll see now there are 4 screws holding in your factory radio. There's one on each corner. So we're gonna go ahead and use our same 9/32 socket, get those 4 removed, and then the radio will be able to come out. Now that we have our 4 screws in, we're gonna grab the radio on either side, and we're just gonna start to wiggle it a little bit towards us. And you're gonna see that it's gonna come out. There's a retaining clip here on the top that Jeep put in, so if you feel resistance, it's just that pin. So just like you saw me do, just kind of wiggle it, even pressure, and you're gonna see that there are a couple connectors on the back of your factory radio. We're gonna go ahead and remove all of them. There's a tab on the bottom of the main connector there. You're just gonna depress the tab and remove it. Same with the square gray plug here, tab on the bottom. And then you have your 2 antenna connections. So same sort of thing here. You got a tab, you're gonna push the tab in and release the 2 antenna connections. The next harness we need to run is the OBD2 communication cable. That's gonna be the one with the big black plug and the red and yellow braided pair of wires. So the larger black plug is gonna go down here to the left bottom side of the dash to the main OBD2 connection. We're then gonna run the smaller connector up and to behind the head unit. We're gonna plug it into the main harness. So we're gonna make the connection here to the OBD2 port. Snap that into place, and then the smaller connector here with the little OBD2 tag on it, we're gonna run this towards the center of the dash and then up to behind the radio. So kind of the trick here is find something, like there's a little wire that comes out of the back of OBD2. We're gonna loop it through there just to kind of keep it tucked up out of the way. Again, get all your tangles out, pull all the slack through. All right, at this point, we can just kind of find anything and everything up there we're gonna run across towards the center. We need to grab some zip ties. We can do that as well. We wanna keep this wire up and out of the way, as obviously all the pedals are here, and that wouldn't be safe to get your foot snagged on it. So there's actually another wire here. So we're gonna use that as kind of an anchoring point. We'll run that over. And then, like I said, we'll grab some zip ties, and any of this slack here, we'll pull it tight, we'll anchor it to this, and then we'll feed it up the dash. So we're gonna wrap that main harness and our OBD2. Go ahead and pull the slack out of it and make sure our zip tie is nice and tight. And that should do it as far as holding the cable up out of the way of our feet. Yep, that's good. Okay, with our OBD2 cable ran to the bottom of the dash, now all we need to do is get it up to the top behind the radio. So this is definitely, if you have a wire fish, this is where it's gonna come in handy. If you have a metal coat hanger, a rod, anything that'll work. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go right kind of below the vent here, and we're gonna shoot the wire fish straight down towards the floorboard. We'll hook the wire and then we'll pull it back up. So let's go ahead and just follow the inside of the dash straight down. All right, I got the wire fish, came out the bottom. Go ahead and hook the wire. And there we are. I said a second ago, having a wire fish definitely makes this part super easy. So we're gonna head to the tailgate and I'll show you exactly how the backup camera mounts and how the wire is gonna get run to get up to the back of the head unit. So let's move to the back of the Jeep. We're gonna end up using our Bantam Overland backup camera mount. So you can see it's going to fit right here on the wheel studs that hold on your spare tire. So on this Jeep, we have the factory wheel on the back. So depending on what kind of wheels you have on your Jeep is going to depend on the placement of your backup camera mount. The eventual goal here is to get this mounted where the camera is between a couple of the spokes of the wheel, and then we can adjust it accordingly. You do have some up and down. There is an extension arm that you can articulate if it is needed for your wheel. So let's start by getting the factory tire off, and then we'll show you how this mount goes on. We're gonna grab our impact here. We have 19 mil on here, so we'll go ahead and take the wheel off. All right, with our factory wheel removed, you can see how the holes in the mount here are just gonna slip right over top these two wheel studs. So that's the eventual placement that we're going for. So one thing that you could do is if you had a piece of tape or something, if you wanted to kind of roll it over and stick it on the back here, that'll kind of hold it in place while you get your wheel mounted back up. All right, there we go. So just a piece of tape there on the back to temporarily hold our camera while we start running the cable. So we're gonna take the twist tie off here. And you can see the third brake light here. If you follow it straight down, you can see the wire that runs right down through the tire carrier mount and is gonna come out the side here and go through the tailgate. We wanna follow that same path with our camera wire. We're gonna take our camera wire, we're gonna follow the third brake light wire and just feed it right down. And on this tire carrier, you can just reach through the side. We're gonna pull our camera wire straight through. We'll just kind of let it dangle here for a minute because we need to remove this grommet here in the tailgate so that we can pass the wire through into the inside. So to do that, we're actually gonna need to open the tailgate and remove a couple of panels. All right, the two panels that we're gonna need to remove are the one right here along the top, and then you have this vented one. So to do that, we're going to grab one of our plastic pry tools, and we're gonna start with the one with the vents in it. So on the inside here, we're gonna pry on this side because we wanna stay away from prying on the outside because there are three kind of hinges right there. So we'll stick our tool under and we'll pop that out. All right, so show you right there. Here's the two clips, and like I said, these are the three hinges, so kind of came out like that. So we want to pry out on those two. And then for the plastic trim piece here, we're going to want to pry from the bottom and avoid the hinges on the top. So what I'm actually going to do is go right in here in the corner, get right under it, and just start working our way down. All right, again, you can see the metal clips here. That's what we're popping out, and we're avoiding the little retaining hinges. All right, with the two panels removed, the next step is to push out the grommet where the third brake light wire goes through. So the easiest way I've found to do this is just reach in from the inside, and we're just gonna push out and remove the grommet. It'll pop right out. The next thing that we're gonna need is a knife or a pair of side cutters because we're actually gonna make a small kind of incision in the grommet so that we can run our camera wire through. So let me go grab a knife and I'll show you exactly how to do that. All right, so this is the important safety message portion of this install. Please be careful when you're doing this. You don't wanna slip, cut yourself, or cut the wire. So one of these little knives works just fine. I recommend if you feel more confident wearing a glove or just some sort of towel. That way you can use it to hold the grommet and protect yourself. So what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna make a longitudinal cut from the top all the way to the bottom, kind of open up a hole there where we can feed the wire through. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that, and then we'll show you how to run the wire through and re-secure the grommet. I said, you can take your time in doing this. First pass, I just did a light kind of cut. That way I can mark my path, and then we can slowly start to work away at the rest of the grommet. We do not want to cut the third brake wires. All right, now I have the grommet carefully cut all the way through. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna rotate where the incision that we made is gonna face down. We don't want any sort of water intrusion to go into the vehicle. So we're gonna place the grommet back on the connector that was there. We will approximate our wire here. We're going to feed the wire into the cut. Take the 4-pin connector and push it through the tailgate. And then we're going to take the grommet and we're going to push everything back in until it's nice and seated. So at this point, we're going to grab a couple of zip ties and we'll just do some wire management here, and then we'll get ready to continue with the backup camera installation. With our backup camera wire now run through the tailgate, the next thing that we're going to want to grab is the backup camera extension harness. So real quick on this, the two ends here, obviously you got the one end that connects to the camera wire that we just ran. It's going to be a little black 4-pin connector. It's going to have this adapter on it that is going to adapt it over to some RCAs. And then the long length of the wire, this is what we're going to run all the way up to the front of the Jeep and eventually end up behind the head unit. So for right now, we're going to just concern ourselves with the one end. What we want to do is run the camera wire. We're going to go through the inside of the tailgate and come out right here where you see this main wiring harness. We're going to pretty much follow this along the inside of the tailgate and then across the bridge here to get into the Jeep. So kind of one of the easiest ways to do this is you start by putting your adapter in. You can fish it through and grab it with the other hand. And then we are going to line up the connectors here. Kind of hard to see probably on camera, but on this one end there's an arrow, and then there's an arrow on the other connector. We just want to line up those, and we're going to give it a push and make sure it's all the way good and tight pushed in. Then what we can do is pull the excess back towards the tailgate. All right, at this point, if you have some tape laying around, we always suggest to tape up these connections. That way they stay nice and secure and protected while they're in your tailgate. So I'm gonna grab some tape, we'll do that, and we'll keep on going. All right, now we have our connection all taped up. One little quick important note, you'll see there's these two wire loops right here next to the camera connection. The white wire is going to control the mirror image. So if when we get ready to hook it up, if the image left to right isn't relevant to what you're supposed to be seeing, we're going to cut the loop of the white wire, and that will essentially flip or mirror the image. The small green loop will get rid of the grid lines that come already on the backup camera. So if it's your preference to just have a camera view and not the grid lines, you're going to cut the green wire. So for right now, we're going to leave all the wires alone because we want to see what it looks like before we go cutting any wires. But just know that those are here and that's what they're there for. So now that we have that connected, we're going to follow, like I said, this main harness here. So the best thing to do is just zip tie. You can see where the factory connectors are here. We're just going to zip tie this along and keep it tucked out of the way. So let's grab another handful of zip ties, and just to make everything a little cleaner, I'm actually going to pull some of this back into the tailgate just to get it out of the way so that all of our connections here are the most protected that they can be. All right, so we'll get it to right about there where you see the spider loom is, and then we'll secure up the rest of this here in a second. So we'll start with one zip tie. We're just going to leave these kind of loose for a second until we get it to where we want it to go, and then we will secure everything up. So we'll take our excess wire here, and we're going to just tidy it up right here. See, we just zip tied it right here to where the wire is. That way it's accessible if we need it, but it's nice and tucked out of the way. And we'll just continue on with our zip ties here. I'm just going to keep pulling the slack out of the wire, keep everything nice and tight and clean looking. Now that we have these first 4 or 5 started, we can go ahead and just tighten them all down. And don't forget to grab your cutters and cut off the excess zip tie. All right, carrying on towards the front of the vehicle, we've now reached where the wire chase goes from the tailgate to the body of the Jeep. So we're gonna just kind of, again, tuck this through. We're gonna stay right with that wire. Again, zip ties here are your friend. Now, when we reach the portion where the wire needs to go into the back of the Jeep, we'll go ahead and feed the extra up. Because what we're gonna do is we're gonna go right where the plastic meets the back of the body. We're gonna just follow it around and then go towards the outside, the passenger side of the Jeep. All right, so when you get to where the wire jumps over from the tailgate to the body, make sure that your tailgate's all the way open for this so that when you zip tie it, that it has, you know, maximum amount of slack there. Last thing you wanna do is have it kind of not all the way open, and then the next time you go and open your tailgate all the way, it pulls it too tight. So again, like I said, make sure you have your tailgate all the way open when you're doing this step. All right, so panel removal tool time again. We're just gonna insert it here, and all we're really trying to do is just work ourselves enough of a space to get the wire for your backup camera tucked in. So sometimes it's just easier to use the tool to kind of push the wire in. All right, so with a little bit of work, it definitely will fit right through there without having to remove the plastic trim panel here. Again, just kind of using the edge of the tool, working it in, gently pushing it in and around. You can get it right behind this plastic panel. Now, from this point, it's generally pretty easy. Just, we're gonna tuck it away behind the carpet. We're gonna go right down the passenger side of the Jeep, going below the doors and up towards the radio. So let's go ahead and keep doing that. All right, so here's the area where we ran the wire behind the plastic. So now we're over here on the carpeted portion. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna run behind the support here for the roof. And when you pull the carpet back, you just literally reach in and pull it back, you'll see that there's a main wiring harness there. We're gonna follow this main wiring harness and just zip tie throughout the way, and then we're gonna go towards the back door on this 4-door Jeep. So go ahead and pull our wire around the support there. This is the easiest. We're gonna go around the seat belt here, and we're gonna set this in the back seat because that's the way that we're headed. So again, zip ties. We'll just secure our backup camera wire to this main wiring harness. All right, so 2 right there should be good. All right, with that secured, we're just gonna tuck the carpet back up under the edge, and we'll move to the back seat and continue running our wire. All right, so picking up where we left off right here, we're gonna peel back the carpet going down the door jamb here. You can see that main wire harness is still right there. So same story as before. We're just gonna follow that. We're gonna zip tie every so often, and we're gonna work our way all the way down here to the bottom of the B pillar. Just wanna make sure we keep our wire nice and tight to the main harness. And this one here at the bottom, I would zip tie right next to this retainer. That way we know that it's good and secure. And we'll put one more right here in the bend. All right, clean this up and we'll keep moving forward. And don't forget to put your carpet back as you move along. Now we're at the bottom of the B-pillar. Like I said, this is 4-door. So we're going to just kind of pull the carpet back, and then we're gonna just tuck the camera wire under the plastic of the B-pillar. That'll get us through. Once you get the wire under the plastic, you can use your panel tool. Just kind of scoot that underneath. Make sure it's good and push back out of the way. Take the rest of our wire and we'll move it to the front seat now. Just keep tucking, and that works real nice. All right, done with the back seat, onto the front seat. Now we have the wire in the front seat. So what we're gonna do right here along this kick panel, there's one little Christmas tree right there. We're gonna use our removal tool. We're gonna pry back up on it, pop that out of the way, set that right there for right now, and then we're gonna keep running our camera wire. I'm just gonna go right up under all this plastic, trim pieces. Again, you can use your fingers or you can use your pry tool like we did in the back seat. Just wanna make sure that the wire gets past where that Christmas tree connector is going to go back in. Keep working our way along. All right. Reach under there and make sure our wires are nice and out of the way. Grab our Christmas tree, push it back into place, and we're going to keep going along the bottom of the A-pillar, and then we're going to start working our way towards the back of the radio. Again, we can pull the floor mat back or take it out. Let's just go ahead and take it out so we can show you what we're doing here. We're going to continue this wire along the edge. Again, sometimes panel tool makes it a little easier to get everything tucked away nicely. We've cleared the plastic. We'll give it one more swipe. Make sure that wire is nice and tucked. Then we can reach up. So there's 2 retainers here holding the carpet and kind of pin them in place. These you can just lefty-loosey and take them right off. And we're going to take both of them off. Go ahead and pull the carpet out. The great thing about these Jeeps is the carpet is really easy to remove. We will tuck that around, and then we will tuck our carpet back into place and re-secure our 2 little retainers. Now that we have our wire all the way around the carpet, the next thing we need to do is get from the footwell here up to behind the radio. So kind of the easiest way to tackle that is we're actually going to take the glove box out. So go ahead and pop it open, pinch in on the sides, and the glove box will just pop right out. Now that we have this space opened up, we're gonna find our wire and get your fingers to touch there. And we'll go ahead and gently pull this through. Again, just take all the tangles out kind of as we go here. Let's go from here to behind the radio. From where the right vent is here, it's actually a pretty straight shot down the side of this, kind of where the panel is here. So I think that's the route we're going to take. Yep, there we go. Got the RCA through. All right, and there are our wires. So that is perfect. That is just about the length we need. So we got our power and our ground and our video cable. So we're gonna grab the 2 interior panels off of the tailgate. We'll get those replaced, and then we'll get our tire mounted and we'll go up front. We'll start with the little vents here. Again, the hinge is gonna go towards the outside of the tailgate. Line that up. That just pops right back in place. Grab our other trim piece. Again, remember the little clips or the hinges here were on the top of the tailgate. So So we'll line those up, push all the clips in. And right down here on the inside where we ran the wire through, just make sure that they're kind of out of the way enough that you can get the panel back on there. That should be enough room. They both will clip in and everything will be secure. Before we get the tire mounted back up, do yourself a favor, grab your lug nuts and your tool. That way you don't have the tire up and then all of a sudden you forgot what you did with the lug nuts. So we're gonna set them right here on the bumper, and we'll put our tool right here so that way when we get it up here in a second, we'll have everything we need. So let me grab the tire, give it a spin, make sure we got our Jeep logo lined up. Lift this up, gently put it into place. All right. Grab one of our lug nuts. Always start these with your fingers. Last thing we want to do is cross thread. Now that we have those holding the tire on, you can see where the vertical adjustment in the Bantam Overland backup camera mount comes in handy. So you do have some ability to go up and down. For our installation, I think I'm pretty happy with that. But if you need to do any fine-tune adjustments, now is the time to do that. Like I said, depending on the wheel that you have on here, you might need to use the articulating extension. For the factory wheel, we don't have to do that. So we're gonna go ahead and tighten down the lug nuts. We're gonna go ahead and jump to the front of the Jeep so we can start installing our new Bantam Overland front camera. Our Bantam Overland front camera is a great addition to your Jeep JK, as it's going to improve visibility in front of your Jeep. So whether you're trying to park at the local supermarket or you're hitting the trail and you just want to see what's right in front of your Jeep, this is going to be the perfect solution for that, as our custom bracket is going to mount right here behind the grille and is going to place the camera right here in the middle of the center opening here in the factory Jeep grille. So to do that, first we need to open the hood. With our hood open, the next step is we're actually going to remove the front grille to make access to the grille upper support. So to do that, you have 6 clips. There's one right here over the headlight. You have 4 across the top of the grille, and then you have another one here over the passenger side headlight. We're going to use our panel tool. See the middle of the pin. You're going to want to just lift up. Once the middle of the pin releases, you can pull the entire connector out. We're going to do the same thing for all 6 of the pins on top of the grille. All right, now that we have our 6 retaining pins out, we're going to set these to the side as we will need them later. Now that we have the 6 pins out of the top of the grille, you can see the top is loose. Now we just need to release the retaining clips down at the bottom. So to do that, we're going to go down here by the turn signal. We're just going to grab the grille. We're going to pull it straight back towards us. We're going to work our way across, grab by the other turn signal, and the grille will pop right out. Now the only thing holding the grille on is the turn signal connectors. So we'll go ahead and depress the tab and slide the connector off. So on the turn signal connector, you actually see there's this red locking tab. So that's going to be pushed forward. So what you're going to want to do when you go to release that is when you reach in on the underside, you're going to want to slide the locking tab back with your finger, then depress the tab back here to actually release the connector from the turn signal. Now that we have both turn signals disconnected, we can lift the grille up and out of the way, and we're going to set this in a safe place off to the side. Now with our grille fully removed from the Jeep, we can see where we're going to mount our camera bracket. So if you look right here on the upper grill support, right behind this wiring harness, there are 2 holes from the factory. That's where we're going to mount our bracket. So to make better access for the bracket itself, while we're attaching this, we're going to go ahead and remove this one grommet here using our panel tool. That'll just drop that down out of the way. So when you receive your Bantam Overland front camera, this is the Bantam option. We also have a universal camera mount, which is just going to be the lower portion here is just going to be flat. That's not going to be pre-drilled for any of our cameras. So if you're using either the Bantam camera or the universal bracket, this part of the install is going to be exactly the same. Also provided with our kit, you will get mounting hardware. So we have nut, bolt, 2 flat washers, and a split washer. That's what we're going to use to secure the bracket to the upper grill support. So the sequence here is we're going to use the pan head Phillips head bolt, then a split washer, and then a flat washer. We're going to go through the bracket, through the upper grill support, and then we're going to use our other flat washer and our nut to secure it on the back end. So we'll start with one and we'll get it started, and then we'll move on to the second one. We're going to go behind the wiring harness here. Again, the bolt, split washer, and then a flat washer. Go ahead and get that pushed in. And then with our other hand, you're going to reach up behind the support, and we'll get our flat washer on there, and then the bolt. And we're just getting this started with our fingers. We'll get it started on both sides, and then we'll tighten it back up with our screwdriver. So that one's started. We'll go ahead and get our other mounting hardware. So again, bolt, split washer, flat washer. Put it through the slot on the bracket, through the hole in the grill. All right, so now we have our bracket loosely mounted to the support here. The next thing we're going to want to do is grab our grill, and we're going to test fit it back on there. The slots in the bracket allow you to adjust the camera left to right across the vehicle, so we want to make sure it's nice and lined up in the middle vertical there on the grill. So let's grab the grill and give it a test fit. All right, so we're just going to loosely place our grill about kind of where it goes, and we'll take a look. And our camera's a little bit towards the passenger side, so we're going to reach in and just slide the bracket over until we get it lined up in the center. All right, I'm pretty happy with that. So we'll go ahead and take the grill back off for a second. And now you can grab your screwdriver, and we're going to go ahead and give these a final tighten. There's not really a whole lot of room to get a wrench in there, so you can just kind of hold it with your finger. The lock washers are going to snug it up enough, and you can see that's definitely not going anywhere, so nice and solid. At this point, we can put our retainer for our wiring harness, push that back in and get that out of the way. Now we have our camera mounted to the support. It's time to start running the camera wire. Before we do, we want to talk about one thing real quick. Right here next to the camera connector, you're going to notice there's 2 loops of wire. There's a white one and a green one. The green one, we already have it cut because on this Jeep, we don't want the grid lines showing on the front camera. If you want to maintain the grid lines, just leave the green loop intact. Like I said, if you don't want grid lines, go ahead and just snip the loop. The white loop is going to mirror the image. So if you get in when we test it and left is right and right is left, you can either snip the white loop, or in the Sony 9000 settings menu, you actually have the option to toggle the view of the camera from the head unit. So that's what we're going to do in this installation. So we're going to start running the wire for our camera. Then we're going to actually jump inside. We're going to have to pull the rest of our camera wire up through the firewall, and then we'll join the two here over by the fender. So to start running the wire from the camera, we're going to follow this wire that runs across here. So we're going to work this up. We're going to go kind of behind through the radiator and the back of the headlight. We're going to end up over in this area. So should be enough room where you can just poke it right through. How you run this wire is completely up to you. We like to keep it as tight to either the radiator support or the inside of the fender as possible, just for a nice clean look. So we'll pull this through. There's going to be about enough wire to end up over here by the hood latch. At this point, we can grab a couple of our zip ties and we'll go ahead and secure this portion of the wire. So we'll take one of our zip ties. We're going to leave a little bit of a loop behind the camera, and then we'll bring up the wire to this factory wiring. Go ahead and put one zip tie right there. Follow down, and just on the other side of this retainer here, we'll put one more zip tie. Keep this nice and tucked out of the way. Get this one tightened up, and we can use our cutters to snip off the excess. And then we're going to push our knot there back to the back. All right, nice clean look. Now we have our first part of our camera wire run over. Now is the time that we need to make access to the firewall grommet so that we can pass a wire fish down into the footwell. We'll attach the other portion of our camera cable, and then we'll pull it back up. We'll join the two, and then everything else will be inside. So as we move here to the corner of the firewall, you can see there's a main wiring harness that runs along the back here. You can see we actually already have the fuse for our amplifier attached to it as well. So there's a couple of push connectors that hold this wiring harness to the firewall. You can literally just pull on it and they'll just pop right off. So there's 3 of them. And then when we pull the main wiring harness down, and then the insulator, you can see here in the back corner, we already have our amp power wire run through there, but you can see there's kind of this like butyl rubber seal over a hole. If you need to make access to that, you can just use a razor knife and cut a hole in it, and then that's where we're going to pass our camera wire through. We've gone ahead and grabbed our wire fish off the bench. If you have one of these, this is a great tool. If you have a metal coat hanger laying around, that will work too. Pretty much anything you can use to, we're going to put this down through the grommet, through the opening in the firewall, and then we'll tape our camera wire to the other end, and then we'll gently work it back. So go ahead and set that portion up there, and we'll pull this down. And what you want to do is you want to go pretty much as straight down towards the ground as possible. It's pretty far up behind the rest of the dash, so we don't want to get snagged on everything. So we're going to go straight down. All right, I can feel it's bottomed out, so it's probably on the carpet. At this point, we're going to jump into the passenger footwell. We'll find our wire fish. We'll tape our camera wire to the end of it, and then we'll gently pull it back. We have our wire fish here. We're going to grab the barrel end connector here of our camera wire, and we'll get this attached with some tape to our wire fish. Just like to go over the very end, and then we're going to wrap this all the way back. All right, with that attached, now we can go back to the engine bay, and we will gently work this back up and through the firewall. All right, now we're back up in the engine bay. So we're going to start slowly working our wire fish back up and through the firewall grommet. right, so there's the first bit of our camera wire. All right. So that is going to be just enough to get our two ends of our camera connected. So I'm pretty happy with that. So we'll go ahead and untape the wire fish and get it out of the way. It is important to note while you're pulling the wire through, if you feel any sort of resistance, please don't give it a good pull. The camera wire will snap and then we're gonna have to start all over. So just take your time. We're gonna go ahead and work the two ends together. We'll get them connected and then we'll get them secured. I'm actually gonna use the wire fish one more time. I'm gonna feed it through. There's this black plastic piece attached to the fender. I'm gonna feed that through and we can hook the end of the wire. All right, there we go. You can use that to work it through and under that plastic piece. Go ahead and get our wire back out, and now we can set our wire fish to the side. All right, now we have the two ends. We have the barrel end from the wire that we ran through the firewall. We have the end that comes from the camera. Now all we need to do is connect the two of these. If you look very closely, you'll see on both of them there's a locating notch, and then there's also a little tiny arrow on each end. We just want to line up the locating notches and the arrows. We'll give it a little push, see that it started, and then we'll make sure we'll give it a good push, make sure that it's all the way seated. And then we like to use a bit of tape just to wrap up the connection. That way we can keep a little bit of dirt and water out of it, and also make sure that the connection doesn't wiggle loose. So we'll grab some of our tape. And we'll tape up the connection between the two wires. And then after you've either snipped the loop or not, since we have snipped the loop, we'll go ahead and throw a bit of tape over those wire loops as well. All right. Now we have our camera wire connected. We can finish up under here by just cleaning up any of our excess wire. And we'll go ahead and get our cover back, and we'll put our wiring harness back on the firewall. Now that that's all tidied up, we can move into the inside. We'll finish running this front camera wire up to behind the head unit, and then it's time to install our new Sony 9000 plug-and-play bundle. Now we have our front camera wires connected and everything's tidied up. While we're up here at the front of the Jeep, let's go ahead and throw the grill on, because then after that, everything else is going to be done inside to get our new Sony 9000 plug-and-play bundle installed. So let's go ahead and grab our grill and we'll get it back on the front of the Jeep. All right, now we have our grill. Set it down here on the bumper. Let's not forget to connect our turn signals. So we'll grab those, we'll get it plugged in, and then push the red locking tab down. You'll hear it lock into place. Do the same thing for the passenger side. All right, got those. Now we're going to line the clips up along the bottom. And we'll start right here in the middle. Push the bottom of the grill in. You hear it lock into place. Now we need our 6 retaining pins for the top of the grill. All right, we're going to replace our 6 retaining pins. So to do that, we're just going to push the retaining pin in, and then we're going to push the center button until it clicks into place. There we have it, front grille is on, so let's move into the passenger side of the Jeep. We're gonna continue working our camera wire up and behind the glove box and to the back of the radio, so then we can start making all the connections to our new radio. So we're down here on the passenger footwell area. We're gonna get our camera wire and we're gonna pass it up through and behind the glove box. So if you haven't done so already, just pop the glove box out real quick, open it, push the sides in, pull it back, lift it straight out to get the glove box out. We're just gonna reach through. We're gonna pass our camera wire there we go. Just grab it with our fingers. Again, we're just gonna gently work slack up. All right, at this point, we're gonna jump up in the Jeep and now we're gonna work it up the side of the center console, center dash here, and get it to behind the radio. So we're just going under the lower dash support here. We're just gonna keep working our wire through. It's also gonna give us something that we can zip tie our wire to keep it nice and tidy and out of the way. So we are gonna be left with a fair amount of extra wire, so once we get it run up, we'll find a nice place to tuck all the extra away inside the dash. You can go right here, just on the inside of the dash, and we can see that we work our wire through. And then what we want to do is there's the metal radio support in the back here. We want to make sure that any of the wires that we run go around and behind that. So when we go to put our radio in, everything is nice and secure in the back of the dash here. So we're going to work that around the dash support. And we'll pull our video RCA through. And now we have our power and our ground and our video cable right here to be able to plug into the back of our radio. So now's a good time to grab a couple of zip ties. We have quite a bit of extra wire here that we're going to clean up, and then we can just zip tie it to this lower dash support, keep it out of the way, and that way we'll have just enough to what we need right here for the back of the radio. All right, so we have our extra wire. We'll go ahead and secure the bundle with a zip tie. Then we'll trim off our excess. Tuck it right down here under this support, which would be under the glove box. Make sure our wire's tucked out of the way, and then we'll use one more zip tie to secure our extra wire. Wire's nice and out of the way. Again, we'll trim off the excess of our zip tie. All right, there we go. All right, now we have our front camera wire run all the way to the back of our head unit. Now it's time to run a few more things to get ready to install our new Sony 9000 plug-and-play bundle. So let's go ahead and get started running those other wires. All right, the next cable that we need to run is the navigation antenna that came provided with your head unit bundle. This is going to allow your Apple CarPlay to connect, and also as a antenna for your navigation apps. Where we're going to mount that is right here on top of the dash. You can see there's a little square right here between the dash vents. We're going to mount the puck directly there, and then we're going to run the wire underneath and right to behind the radio. So let's go ahead and grab our navigation antenna. We're going to save that twist tie because we'll reuse it here in a minute. And we're going to get the wire all straightened out here. And we're going to start with the square plastic connector here. If you reach up towards the front of your dash, you'll feel that there's a rubber membrane right there between the plastic and the front windshield. What we're going to do is you can just push it out of the way with your fingers and you'll be able to see light through there. So we're going to take the plastic connector and we're just going to push it down between the gasket and the windshield, and then just wrap it like 180 degrees back towards, and you can see it right there. we'll just keep wiggling it through. All right, there we go. Worked it through. Now we're just going to pull all of the slack out of the wire. And on the bottom of your antenna, there's a little piece of double-sided tape. So make sure you clean the dash off real well. We'll peel the adhesive, or we'll peel the paper off of the double-sided tape. And we're going to pull this through. We'll get that antenna right in the middle of the dash there, and we'll give it a good firm push. All right. Now, with that secured to the dash, we'll work our connector again behind the metal support bracket for the radio. I'm going to pull all the extra wire through. And then we'll just tidy this up and use the twist tie that we just removed to keep it all nice and cleaned up. All right, so grab our twist tie. Get that tidied up. I'll just place it in the dash for now. One more piece of equipment to run and hook up is the Sony provided microphone. You will need to use the Sony microphone with all of our plug and play bundles. So it comes with the microphone, it comes with a little C clip mount or a pedestal and a piece of double-sided tape. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the pedestal mount. So it's got a little pivot ball on it. You can just pull it off. We'll set the C clamp aside. We'll pop the little pedestal mount in place. And then we're going to go ahead and stick the double-sided tape just to the bottom of the pedestal mount. Where we're going to place this and where we recommend to place it is right here on top of the steering column. It's kind of at a natural point where when you're speaking and driving that your sound, your voice is going to be pointed right at it, and you avoid most of the wind noise from it being up on the glass or on the A-pillar or somewhere else. So for right now, what we're going to do is we're going to remove the twist tie. We're going to run the wire, and then after we're done putting the entire dash back on, then we'll actually mount it, because this will get in the way of trying to put the dash piece back on. So just like all the other ones, we'll take the cord, stretch it out, and we're going to run it right through the dash. I'll show you that here in a second. All right, so we're going to start with the headphone jack looking end. There's kind of a spot right here to the right of the steering column, and you can go just to the left of the vent. You should be able to reach just right through there and be able to grab the headphone jack. If you're having difficulty with this, you might want to grab a wire coat hanger or wire fish. All right, so there's the headphone jack. We are going to go ahead and pull the rest of the slack through. And like I said, this is eventually going to end up right here on top of the steering column. So we're going to leave ourselves a little bit of slack up here, and then we'll tidy up the rest of the wire that's going to be behind the radio. Just like the others, we've got it, most of the slack managed, and then we're going to leave ourselves a little bit of a tail there to be able to reach the radio. So grab one of these twist ties that we removed from before, and we'll just go ahead and secure the extra wire. The next wire that we need to run is for the USB. So provided in the kit is an adapter that is going to connect to your factory USB. It's going to retain the factory USB function of the one in the glove box. So to do that, we need to remove this lower HVAC control panel and get to the Uconnect module. So let's move all of this out of the way for now. This panel, you literally just grab it, pull straight back towards you, and this panel will pop right out. There's a couple of connectors on here. We're going to depress the tabs to remove the connectors and get these out of the way. All right, so we can move that, set that off to the side. Now what we're going for in this Jeep is this Uconnect module. It's held in with two 7mm bolts. There's one here at the top left and there's one here on the bottom right of the module. We'll go ahead and remove both of those and then we'll disconnect all of the connections to the Uconnect module. To remove this lower one, I like to get it loose, then grab the module. We're going to kind of lift it up and out. That way we don't drop the screw down in the oblivion that is the dash. So there's the screw. Now on the bottom of this module you have a couple of connections. There's not a whole lot of slack here, but you will be able to get in there enough to get your fingers to the tabs to depress to remove the connectors. There we go. All right, so we have the module out. We had one connector here and the smaller connector here. This is the one that we're looking for. This is the USB that will match up with the adapter that comes provided with your Sony bundle. So we're actually just going to go ahead and remove this completely since we don't need it anymore. So we'll put it in the center console for safekeeping. So the larger connector here that was attached to the Uconnect module, we can tuck that down out of the way. We can now grab our Sony 9000 plug-and-play bundle and we'll start getting all of the connections made to it. So the first one we're going to start with is the USB. So you can see here this connector will match up to the one that we just disconnected from the Uconnect module. So let's undo the twist tie on this. And then what we want to do, again starting with the plastic connector, is we want to work this down. You might have to move some of your other cables out of the way. I want to work this behind the metal radio support. And then we're going to go right down next to the window switch harness. And keep working that connector straight down the center of the dash. All right, there we are. It's popped out here on the bottom. So we're going to grab the USB connection. We'll get these lined up and push them together so they click. There you go. That one's nice and connected. So again, we'll tidy up the extra wire. All right, now we can start making the rest of the connections to the back of our Sony 9000ES. So I'm going to start here on the kind of the driver's side of the radio and move our way across. So if you selected to add or maintain Sirius XM at checkout, you will have an Sirius XM module that is plugged into this port here. It will have a adapter cable on it that goes from the module to your factory Sirius XM antenna. So there's two antenna adapters here. They're both the exact same other than the color. So you have this white with the red, that is going to be your AM FM, and then you have this kind of mustard colored connector. This is going to be where your Sirius XM adapter plugs into. If your Jeep did not have factory Sirius XM, you will need to use the provided Sirius XM antenna that looks pretty much exactly like the navigation antenna that we ran. So if you have this mustard yellow connector, then that's your factory Sirius XM antenna. So for this install, we are not installing that. Next up is the main wiring harness here. So you'll notice that on the very end, there's one connection for the JK. We're going to find its mate in the dash. And you can see that these will only go together one way. So we will snap that together. Right off of the main vehicle connector is a black 2-pin connector with red and yellow wires. That is our OBD2. So we're going to find the OBD2 cable that we ran earlier. We're going to line those up and connect those together. Now, also on the main harness, we have added power and ground jumper wires for you. So if you selected the front camera that we've already run or the back camera that we've also already run in this Jeep, that is where your power and ground for your actual cameras is going to come from. So here is our front camera wire. So you'll notice there's a red and a black wire with male bullet connectors. On your harness that you receive from us at Bantam Overland, you will have female bullet connectors, 2 pairs. So we're going to match up. We're going to go red wire to red wire, black wire to black wire. We're just going to push these bullet connectors all the way in. And then our yellow RCA here for our video feed. On the back there is a bundle of RCAs, and you will notice there are 3 yellow ones on the Sony 9000ES. They're labeled rear camera in 1, and camera in 2. So for our front camera, we're going to connect that into camera in 1. So you're just plugging the male RCA into the female RCA. And since we're right here doing cameras, we will grab our wire from our Bantam Overland backup camera. So the yellow RCA from the rear camera, we will plug into rear camera in, and then we will connect our power and ground from our rear camera to the other set of power and ground jumpers on our harness. So again, find the red one, red to red, and black to black. One of the great things about doing this setup with the cameras this way is now you have the ability to toggle the cameras from the screen at any time. So if you want to look out the front or if you want to look out the back, you're getting constant power and ground from the head unit itself. So no need to run any additional wiring for that. So that is our cameras. Moving across, you'll have a square connector here that is labeled, if you look on the back of the radio, it's labeled GPS. So we're going to find our navigation antenna connector, and that is going to snap right into the back of the radio. You'll have a blue remote port. That one is not going to be used. And then moving down next to where the RCAs connect into the radio, you have a black data port. That one is also not going to be used, but right next to it is a red port labeled mic, M-I-C. So that's going to be our microphone, our Sony provided microphone. So we're going to get the 3.5mm headphone jack, and we're going to plug that right in there. And then the next and last cable we have on the back here is our AM/FM antenna adapter that will already be plugged into the back of your unit when you receive it. So again, we're going to find our antennas. So for the AM/FM, we need the white with the red. And then we're just going to find the little tab there. We're going to line it up, and we're going to connect that together. So those are all of the basic functions or the basic things that you will connect when you get your Sony 9000ES. If you have additional things, if you have one of our amplifier bundles, you will use the other RCAs for your pre-outs. The other wire that we get a lot of questions about is right next to the main vehicle connector is the blue wire with a white stripe. It's labeled amp turn on, and it also has a female bullet connector. Like I said, if you have an aftermarket amplifier or you're getting one of our plug and play amplifier bundles, that is where the amp turn on wire from our amplifier kit will get plugged into. That will send the signal from the head unit to the amp, letting it know to turn on. So everything is now connected for this install. So the only thing really we have left to do is we're going to tuck everything neatly away in the dash. We're going to power the unit on and give it a quick function test, make sure that everything works. And then once we're satisfied that everything is working, we'll button the dash up and complete final assembly. Now that we have all of our connections made, we just need to gently tuck all of our wires up into the dash. It's a lot of wires, but I promise you they will all fit. So just take your time. I want to make sure nothing becomes disconnected. So we'll just keep working it in until you can see that our holes line up with the factory mounting locations. We're going to grab a few of our screws just to temporarily hold the radio in while we give it a function test. So we'll get a couple of these started with our finger. All right, there we go. We got the bottom two in just to hold it. Go ahead and grab our key, put it in accessory power. So you can see there we have the Mobile ES logo popped up. So we're off to a good start. All right, so the first screen you're gonna get is an initial settings screen. So we're gonna select our language, English, demo mode. We're gonna toggle that off. So just toggle it off. You can see there with the key beep, we got sound already. We're going to set the date and time. So, today is the 29th, 2024. It is currently 12:19 in the afternoon. Time format, you can either do 12 or 24 hours depending on your preference. So everything is good there. We're going to go back. Speaker configuration, we're going to do front and rear, so that's good. And then once we're done, we can hit OK. You'll see a safety message here pop up. That's going to pop up every time you turn your radio on. You can either hit close or it will automatically time out, as it just did. So that brings us to the home screen of the unit itself. So let's go ahead and we'll test the AM/FM function. So we'll go to radio. We have some static there. We'll find a local radio station. So 99.9 is local country here in Frederick. All right. So AM/FM is working. Sirius XM, if you have the Sirius XM module attached to the back of your radio, that will be the icon that you use to launch that. Bluetooth, let's check our rear camera. All right, so you can see there we got the studio in the background. Here are those grid lines that we were talking about earlier. So the backup camera is working. The other thing we want to do is we can put the Jeep into reverse and make sure it also triggers. So you can see we shifted in reverse, backup camera triggers. You have the grid lines from the backup camera and then the Sony overlaid grid lines. If you want to remove those, we're just going to hit that right there. So again, now it looks like the backup camera image from before. So we'll shift it out of reverse. Let's go to all apps. That'll bring up the rest of the options here. We can see camera 1, that's where we plugged our front camera into. So there we are, there's our front camera view. We got the rest of the studio there. Like I said, we opted to remove the grid lines, so otherwise you would have the same grid lines like the backup camera. All right, so that is functioning. One of the cool things about these units is the Maestro module is reading data from the vehicle's computer. So even with the vehicle not running, you can see you have like intake temp, fuel percentage, RPM, load, miles per hour, 0 to 60. If you want to go out and do that with your Jeep, have at it. So that's working. You also have a vehicle information screen. So you can see here we have battery voltage, our tire pressures are showing. That's definitely an awesome feature. You can see we have door open alerts. So we have the passenger door and the rear tailgate open, and then the engine OK. That is more or less like a check engine. So if you have any sort of codes, that's going to pop up. So it's pulling all the information that it's supposed to from the computer. The only thing we have left to do is we're going to test to make sure that our wireless Apple CarPlay works. If you have Android Auto, make sure that you have the Android Auto app downloaded to your phone. So I'm going to go ahead and pull my phone out here. So we're going to go to Settings, go to Device Connection. So I have Settings pulled up on my phone. We're going to go to Bluetooth. We're going to say Add a new device on the radio. And then under New Devices, you can see mine says Jeep JK because I've had my phone connected to this head unit before. What you're looking for is XAV-9000ES. So you're going to connect to that. It's going to offer you a pairing code. You're going to, pair on the head unit. It's going to ask you if you want to allow contacts. Yes, we do, because we want to see who's calling. And then it's going to say connected there, and then we're going to say use CarPlay. And then one more time on the head unit, so we're going to want to use Apple CarPlay. You hear the chimes there, so Apple CarPlay is now connected. It defaulted to my Pandora, which I was listening to last time I was in the vehicle. So now we can see that we have the home screen of Apple CarPlay. So not only is our wireless CarPlay working, that was pretty much the last thing we needed to check. So everything seems to be working. You can rearrange these icons in your phone. You can also change wallpapers. We like to just do the solid black. I think it's a little cleaner. As you can see, CarPlay is functioning perfectly. AM, FM, backup camera, front camera, everything is working as it should. So let's go ahead and turn the key off. All right, let's finish buttoning up the dash. So we'll grab 2 more of our radio screws and we will get those started up here on the top. All right, now what I like to do when I'm putting the dash in for the final time is the sides of the dash kit here, like hold them tight to the side of the radio, and then we're gonna tighten the screws down. And you don't have to go super tight with these. It is just a plastic dash kit, so we don't want to damage or break the mounting tabs. So again, same thing, I'm gonna hold it with my thumb, and we're just gonna tighten those up. All right, so you see radio's nice and secure. Let's go ahead and tidy up the HVAC panel here. So we're gonna grab that and make any connections that you had to disconnect to remove the panel. All right, so we got our 4 connections there. I'll line this panel up, and then that will just push right into place. Now we're going to grab our main dash piece out of the back seat. And when we're doing this, just again, be mindful, just work it over nice and easy. So we're going to fit it around radio. And push all that into place. You see it fits real nicely around the dash kit that came with the Sony. So push the dash all the way in. We've got our Windows switch connector there. So let's go ahead and we'll grab one more screw. We'll put it in where the Windows switch goes. We have one screw that goes up top in the cubby. Grab our other 2 screws that go on either side of the steering column. All right, with those tightened down, we can lift our steering wheel. Now's a good time to mount our Sony microphone. So again, we'll use the pedestal mount with the adhesive on the bottom. So we'll peel the backing off. We're going to find a spot right here in the center of the steering column. I'm just going to push that right down there, give it a good firm push. Again, we found this is kind of a good spot. It's right in front of your face while you're driving. You're avoiding any wind noise of having the top open or being up next to the window. So found that to be a pretty good spot for the microphone. So we have that. Let's grab our little mat and our switch. And we'll put our little mat back in. Grab our Windows switch, line up the connector, push it into place, and then push the red locking tab down to lock it in. Orient the window switch and push it into place. Let's put our glove box back in. Line the bottom up. Again, you're going to push the tabs in on the side and then close it. And the last piece is the trim that goes under the dash. So again, we're going to hook the bottom here. And then we're going to pivot this up into place and snap that back in. So all right, that wraps up the install of our new Sony 9000 plug-and-play bundle. We also have the Bantam Overland front camera. We have the Bantam Overland backup camera. So a lot of great upgrades in this Jeep JK. This is definitely bringing this Jeep up to modern day standards as far as creature comforts and audio performance. Apple CarPlay, Android Auto wirelessly in a Jeep, awesome. You have now front camera view, you have back camera view. So this is going to be a complete transformation of your 2007 to 2018 Jeep JK. So if you want to pick up this head unit bundle or any of the other great products that you've seen in this video, go ahead and visit us in the shop at bantamoverland.com. And like always, have a blast out there.